Yo, what's good, everybody? Brent here. Tuesday, November 11th. Hope everybody's having an amazing day. It's been a pretty boring few days so far. We're going to talk about why that is actually a feature and not a bug. And hope everybody's having an amazing day. I know some people are pouring in from the Telegram channel right now. I see what's up, Toozer. How you doing? Still tripping. Nice to see you, Armstrong, NFT Jimmy. If this is your first time in the stream, before we get started, let me know in the chat. Say first time. Great to see a lot of regulars in here. Love to see the new names as well. Let me know. Both say new in the stream, and if you're returning, say returning, and what country you're coming from. Love to see where everybody's tuning in from. Got a lot of people been looking at the analytics. A lot of people from the U.S. obviously, but people from all over England, obviously Nigerians. We got some people from all over the world, Asia, every continent pretty much. So got my boy MKT here. Nice to see you, brother. Before we before we get into it as well, we are live streaming today from obviously X, YouTube, but then today we're live streaming from my Instagram as well. So today we're going to do a few giveaways throughout the stream. What I want to do for the first one, we're going to do 3 giveaways, 2 in the chat, and then 1 for somebody who comments somebody in the comments randomly from the X stream, the original, the stream tweet. But I'll go ahead and do the first giveaway here in about 30 minutes to somebody in the Instagram chat. So at the top there, if you see I'm on Instagram at Bren Trades with 1 S on Instagram. If you want to go in there and somebody who's following and comments in the chat, I'll go ahead and pick somebody to win some USDC in about 30 minutes. So, but let's see. What's up, Left Fucking Go? Boss Man Calls finally made it in. What's up, Cryptolicious? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Old supporter Armstrong, nice to see you. Watching from China. That's amazing. I don't know if we've seen. Wow, amazing. What part of China are you in? That's cool to see. Boss Man Calls, BitJoins, Joseph McKay. Hope everybody's having a great day. Let me see on the Instagram, maybe check it out. But yeah, if you guys hope everybody's having a great day. It's been a super kind of boring last few days as far as price action. Not too many runners. Trenches still seem to be pretty slow. A lot of the BNB excitement of the last few weeks has kind of calmed down. But this is actually what we want to be seeing historically. If we look at these past corrections, this is ETH. It's kind of easier to really see on Bitcoin. But on these past corrections, this is exactly what we see near the bottom. These corrections almost always end in apathy. Apathy meaning boredom, indifference, people just kind of checking out. This is what we saw in April of 2025, and in March, in April of 2025. That's why I said in the stream title that we're kind of seeing some April 2025 vibes, where obviously we saw the tariff, madness kind of calm down for a bit. What did we see end that correction? Was Bitcoin consolidating, kind of chopping between 76K and 80K for about a month, came down and retested that low around that time. Remember in April, May, got super boring. Everybody kind of checked out. Everybody assumed we're going into a bear market. And then what happened in April? We bottomed out and just went up only for about 2 or 3 months from, again, 79K up to 120. We saw the same thing in the summer of 2024 as well, where Bitcoin, topped out in March, came down in July, and then held that $54,000 low from July to September. Again, same thing during this time, got super boring. Everybody checked out. And then, a couple months later, Bitcoin went from 53K to 100K. Again, the common factor that ended both of these big corrections of the last few years, and really any correction you're going to see on any asset, is some type of consolidation for days, months, or days, weeks, or months. Usually for Bitcoin, again, anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks We saw 8 weeks here back in the summer of 24, 4 weeks above 72K here in March. And so far, Bitcoin has been consolidating for about, I think, 7 days above 102K. So while this is boring as hell, obviously it's not fun. It's really easy to check out and kind of want to, you know, whatever, just kind of give up or whatever. But during this time, this is exactly what we want to see if Bitcoin is to see a bottom here. Again, is for Bitcoin to hold above 100K. I think this is kind of the best case scenario, and how I think it could very well play out is that Bitcoin comes down, retests 100, stays above there, chops, maybe gives us a few more bounces. But as long as it holds this high or this low at 100K, I think there's a very good chance that we see a few more weeks of consolidation and then a shift up probably towards the end of November. At that time, again, once we see that shift up, that's usually when the trenches start to get reignited. That's when we see meme coins start to run again, alt, and all that good stuff. But again, a couple more weeks of consolidation, while it would be boring, it probably would get, probably gets more boring before it gets, before things turn up again. But again, that's what we want to see. This is what we see at the end of all these corrections. So that's kind of what I expect over the next couple of weeks. Is as long as Bitcoin holds above this 100K low, just a couple more weeks above there, and then upside 120K plus to end the year. I think this is a perfect setup for an extremely bullish 2026 and the confirmation of the death of the 4-year cycle. I actually want to pull up this YouTube video here that I was watching, this Bankless podcast where this guy who works for BlackRock is talking about the 4-year cycle. You see a lot of people, talk about the 4-year cycle on crypto. A lot of people just assume just because we saw Bitcoin top out at the end of year 4 every single time that we're gonna do that. It's just interesting to see this guy from BlackRock. Again, BlackRock. Not only does BlackRock have a huge influence, these guys make a lot of decisions that actually drive where most people invest their money. They have a huge influence. So I think it's notable to hear what these guys think about the 4-year cycle.
That's what's about to play out like right now. Do you think it's the end of a cycle, or do you think this one is different? This one extends into 2026, or maybe the notion of cycles is less relevant now that we have so much institutional capital at play?
Well, I think there's a bunch of reasons why the cycles are probably less relevant on that sort of predetermined schedule that it seems to have followed in the past, right? The first is a lot of people believe the cycle is tied to Bitcoin halving, right? The Bitcoin halving at this point is almost totally irrelevant, right? When ETFs are accumulating inflows, the magnitude of those inflows is many, many multiples larger than any change in supply created by a Bitcoin halving event from here until the end of Bitcoin, right? So, or till the end of the Bitcoin reward
I can't hear you. What?
function in 2140. Okay. And you also have, I think, as you alluded to, more institutional maturity in this market.
I won't go too far into it, but if you heard what he said there, that essentially the halving, because of how many halvings we've already had, the amount of inflation that is coming down is so minimal that it really is just a narrative at this point. And I do agree with him. And that's why I'm saying I think we're going to confirm here in the next few months that the 4-year cycle, the traditional 4-year cycle where we top out on year 4 is going to be over. And at that point, I think we're going to see a lot of FOMO from people who are, again, assuming that we top out here in the next few months. Still seeing a lot. The biggest narrative that I'm seeing is that we go up one more time and we top out and then we go down for a long bear market. While that's possible, I think all these things together, the price action, BlackRock's involvement, all these institutional stuff, regulatory clarity, I think actually points to the likelihood of 2026 being a very bullish year. I think 2025 is an off year for Bitcoin, but for sure memes and alts. And I think that's just a healthy progression. for crypto, and I think that leads to the opposite, like a very bullish 2026. But I do want to look at the Instagram comments really quick. Let me log back in here. Let me see. Hold on. I gotta log in. I'll do it here. There we go. Here, I'll do it here in a second. But let me look in the chat. What's up, Lex? What's up, Cryptolicious? Already said that. What's up, Mr. G? North China, Datong, Shaanxi province. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for being here from China. Having internet issues, but I'm active for the stream. Thanks for being here, Lex. Crypto Carl, nice to see you. Hey, Bren, new Web3 girly here. Bossman advised me to get on X and make some noise. Hell yeah. Thanks for being here, Carmen. I think we're following the liquidity cycle. Just happen to be on a 4-year run. This is shifting, but still exactly. I do agree. I think Bitcoin just happened to line up with the macro liquidity cycle, which we'll go over here in a second. Been watching some videos and interviews a lot the last few weeks on a lot of the macro situation, and we'll talk a bit about that. But yeah, I agree, Marzi, that the 4-year halving cycles happen to line up with a lot of the things going on in the macro world, the business cycle. And I think the business cycle this time is pointing to 2026 being a bullish year. Agree, this 4-year cycle will be changing, especially in the next 10 years. Yeah. What's up, Hayes? Nice to see you. General Mingus, what's up, brother? We still got to do some USD stuff. What's good, P? Nice to see you. But yeah, Bitcoin. Again, guys, this boring ass consolidation, while not much is going on during these times, and it can get, I understand why a lot of people get really doomsday. You see on Twitter, I don't know if you guys noticed, but a lot of hostility, a lot of people coming at each other's necks. And it's interesting that you see this stuff go on, like a lot of the despair on crypto Twitter comes not when prices are going down necessarily, but usually when during this consolidation period where there's zero volatility, you can't long or short, there's not much going on, we tend to see a lot of that type of stuff. But again, this is a lot of the type of behavior that we see near these bottoms where price starts to consolidate, not much is going on, people get bored, stop paying attention. These are usually signs of the bottom. And again, if we can hold above 100K for a week or two, even more towards the end of November, I think that's exactly what we want to see if this is to be the bottom here. Sol and ETH, Sol's an even nicer setup. Same kind of thing here for the majors. Is if Sol already been holding this low here for about 7 or 8 days, if it can stay above 150 for a few more weeks, that's going to be extremely bullish. That's exactly what we want to see to end the year or end the month. And then, do you want to, Jesse, is there people in the Instagram comments? Okay, perfect. You guys in the Instagram comments, I am logging in on my phone real quick while I'm checking the chat. So just give me a second. Boring. What is up, Josh? Nice to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Boring consolidation where most alts go to zero while equities / gold going up. Yeah, I mean, we always, over the years, the last few years, oftentimes on the higher time frames, we see equities like the S&P 500 and everything and crypto kind of follow the same trajectory. But there's times where month to month or for 3 to 6 months, sometimes we'll see equities run and crypto not, and vice versa. So, yeah, it's been a strong year for equities and gold. I think crypto is going to follow suit here. Yeah, the Instagram comments aren't showing up here on the actual chat, though, huh? Why does Bitcoin always pump when everyone just gives up? It's nice to see you, though, Josh. Yo, little late. What's up, Mike? How you doing? Again, we're talking about Bitcoin right now, and again, why this consolidation, while it's boring as hell, is actually a feature, not a bug. This is exactly what we see before these bottoms is consolidation. Price holding a high and low for a few months. A lot of people call it accumulation or distribution when it's a top, accumulation at the bottom. It's at the bottom. Very rarely on this is kind of something you can apply to any kind of charts whether it be in crypto, equities, and you can go back test this yourself. Very rarely do these big corrections end in a V-shaped bottom. V-shaped bottoms are essentially, I think the most obvious case of a V-shaped bottom was COVID on the higher time frames, right? COVID. Um, Here, let me go to the S&P 500. The COVID crash right here. Why is this not? Okay. So the COVID crash right here, you see I have it in the blue box. What did COVID do on the higher time frames on the weekly? Came down very quickly and then consolidated, barely consolidated at all, and just did a V shape. You see where price just came down and then went up almost as fast as it came down, right? There was no consolidation here at the bottom before it went up. This is a rarity. Very rarely are you going to see a chart just go down super fast and then all of a sudden the next week it's just, way higher. Almost always on again, go back test this yourself on equities, crypto, gold, anything that has these candlestick charts. Most of the time price needs um, days, weeks, months, sometimes depending on the higher time frames or depending on the time frames, needs weeks, months, days to consolidate, distribute before it reverses. Okay. So that's exactly kind of what this is a bullish sign for Bitcoin, or ETH, as long as it can hold above 3,200. I think that's, very bullish for and a bullish kind of closing higher into the end of the month. Consolidate. Is it difficult to use leverage right now? Yeah. I just using leverage. I think there's just so many opportunities right now in great alt and meme coins. And I'm going to go over here in just a second. The barbell, or like the two areas that I'm really focusing on and accumulating, and where a lot of my focus is going to be on going into this next period. Two categories. We'll go over here in a second, but Soul Clown. Yeah, you leverage right now is, while I do think it's smarter to use leverage um, when there's less people using it and prices like kind of at the end of these trends, I think there's so many opportunities just buying spot coins right now. Like you can just, a lot of these memes and alts that are down right now. Again, not everything's going to recover, but the select group of coins that do, you're looking at 5-10x plus just to get back to all-time highs where you don't even need to use leverage right now. So I agree. What's up, MetaX? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Boss man calls Crypto Rabbit. Nice to see you. But yeah, let's go over right now. There's two sectors that I'm focusing on going into this next period that I think are have some of the best risk to reward opportunities. And that is one of them. I bet you guys could guess right now. I'm always talking about one of them. But the second one has really become clear to me in the last few weeks, and why I think the combination of these two sectors on two opposite sides of kind of crypto, I think can yield some good gains kind of going into 2026. And that is one, obviously, movement memes. Movement memes. I think there's a lot of people. I think the biggest misconception with meme coins from an outside perspective, and even people who are actually big meme coin traders, is that they just lump in the pump and dump stuff like the peanuts, and I'm not saying a peanut's a pump and dump, but like pump and dump stuff, and then like kind of singular memes like peanut with movement memes, right? Movement memes to me are coins that have these movements or bigger ideas behind them other than price go up. Usually coins that survive these big corrections and have come out of them. They have bigger, aspirations or potential to become movements or brands that kind of transcend kind of this small Web3 world. Those are the ones that I'm betting on, and those are the ones that have already shown us that they can survive these corrections before. For example, like every time Bitcoin's corrected in May, or ETH or Bitcoin have corrected in 2023 and 2024, these movement memes come down in these corrections, to the tune of 50 to 90%. But when the majors head back out of these corrections, they too go on to all-time highs. And I'm talking about the Gigas, SPX, MOG, probably being the best risk to reward one of them all. at its current market cap. I can show you time and time again, right here, right here, right here, right here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th time in the last year and a half that MOG has corrected 50 to 90%. And those other 4 previous times have come out of it. And there's just something with these movement memes that, again, there's just hundreds and thousands of people bag working for your bags. Again, these people continue to push when price is down. And there's a lot of coins that call themselves movements, but I think there's 5 to 10 that are true movements that have the potential to go to 5, 10, 15 plus billion market caps. And MOG, for example, I think MOG has the potential to easily go to 5 billion market cap, which would only be like a 2x of the all-time high, and potentially much higher. You're looking at 10x plus potential just from buying it and holding from right these levels. I think the movement memes are the most no-brainer buys right now. A lot of people are kind of just waiting and assume that memes may have topped for a long time, and I think a lot of them have. But these movement memes, these few SPX, obviously the most obvious one, Giga, MOG, ticker Bitcoin, I think those are still going to give us the most, ROI, 10x, 20x potential, with little downside at this point, already being down 70 to 80%. Okay. So the movement memes, I think the most no brainer. And then the second half to that barbell is kind of the opposite side of crypto, right? Movement memes are really valued on their community potential, their potential to inspire people with their content and ideas and memetics. This opposite side is utility or revenue producing coins with flywheels. Okay. So where I'm really bullish on the other side of the flywheel the barbell with movement memes, MOG, SPX, Giga. The other side is this flywheel or revenue producing side. Obviously, the first one to really wake me up to this meta was Pump. Okay. For many years, I think there was these talks of coins potentially having flywheels like traditional finance has. Traditional finance, for a lot of people don't know, buybacks don't originate in crypto. Buybacks are actually something that happens in the traditional finance world. You'll hear all the time Apple and stuff, they'll use their cash and the money that they raise from all this different stuff to buy back their stock. Okay, so there's talks of this for years happening in crypto, but the SEC and a lot of different stuff, a lot of different, regulatory stuff kind of kept a lot of these companies from doing it. But now Pump Fund kind of was the first one that kind of sparked the meta recently. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It was Hyperliquid, obviously. And this buyback or flywheel meta, essentially what it is these protocols. Hyperliquid, obviously, is a big perp dex. People are using the protocol to trade perps. They're taking their revenue that they're getting from fees and using that to buy back the coin. Okay, and essentially lock it up. And we saw Hyperliquid do it. Obviously, it produced this crazy run, from $3 all the way up to $60 in a few months. We saw Pump do it as well. Now just yesterday we saw Uniswap propose they're going to turn on their fees, which sent Uni up almost 2x, which is pretty crazy for a coin that's in the top 20 in these conditions. It's obviously pulled back a little bit here, but I think this is going to be a trend we're going to continuously see, to where a lot of these big revenue producing coins, revenue producing protocols in crypto are going to now have these flywheels that give direct value back to their holders, right? That was kind of the disconnect with Uniswap and Uni for a long time, is there was no direct value that the holders were getting from holding the coin. It was kind of a narrative thing. But now with stuff like this, there's a direct value proposition for holders. And I think this is going to be a trend, especially with a lot of TradFi investors coming into crypto that really value this kind of things. They value stocks and different equities and different stuff they're investing in based on these metrics of how much revenue is it producing, how profitable is it. So to now be able to see Uniswap and Uni, which I've been holding a lot of uni for a few years now, um, from accumulating back here, actually back in 2024. I'm very bullish on Pump Fund, Hyperliquid, obviously, Uniswap. A lot of these big, you can go and research this yourself. A lot of these big revenue producing um, protocols in crypto with tokens, uh, adding flywheels, I'm very bullish on that. So again, Hyperliquid I think is going to do very well. Pump, where it's currently at, I think is really good. I've been buying a lot of Pump recently to have a nice second run. And Pump actually made this run here to what? 7 or 8 billion. What was this? No, $3 or $4 billion, while meme coins and Dex volume is still pretty low. So if and when the meme coin trenches come back to 2024 levels, which I think there's a good possibility they do in 2026, I think Pump, with all the money that's going to be pouring into the flywheel, really has a chance to not only go back to all-time highs, but to get to some pretty disgusting market caps. Again, because of that flywheel and how much money is going to be pouring in to buybacks from Pump. So I really like Pump here. You're looking at 5 to 10x potential, I think, on this next run. So yeah, Pump looks good. Aster, another one. You always like to see these good coins that have good fundamental value charts that are pretty good have these nice washouts where everybody's kind of not paying attention. The Aster chart actually looks really nice here, guys. I already have it marked up here on TradingView, but I think I'll do it here again for you guys real quick. Aster, I'll tell you why I'm bullish on the chart. First of all, obviously CZ did a tweet about Aster, I think about like a week ago. Didn't do much, but I mean nobody's tweets really do much during these conditions. But the point is, and like the thing to take away from it is Binance and CZ have shown their intention to build Aster, I think, into a long lasting thing. And not only about tweets, it's not about tweets, it's about the resources and connections that they have to build partnerships and do all this cool stuff, to where I think Aster is obviously going to continue to get attention from Binance. So it's good to see coins with good fundamental values like this get big washouts or corrections. You saw it with Pengu, you saw it with Pump, USDC. Well, not so much USDC, but Pump. A lot of these coins will have a big run up. They're very hyped up. They get washed out. People stop paying attention. Usually, if it's a good coin, that's the time to buy. That's the great time to buy. Together on this stream here, we caught Pengu, Pump, a lot of these coins I talked about here during these washout periods where everybody's fudding them or just not paying attention. And we got on Pengu, for example, 8 or 9x gain on that. USDUC is a little bit different, but 7 or 8x on that. Pump, 4 or 5x on that. I think we're going to get a similar run here on Aster. But if we run into good conditions, I think Aster has a lot of potential to have some follow through and go multiples above this all-time high here. So, I mean, you're looking at a nice, as well as this correction, it's been consolidating for about 20, 21, 22 days and is actually in a nice inverse head and shoulders, where this is a pattern we often see at these bottoms is an inverse head and shoulders. And hopefully I'm going to start pointing these out to you guys so you can start seeing them for yourself. But essentially an inverse head and shoulder is, how you often see double bottoms play out. Inverse head and shoulders are another version of a double bottom or a peak or bottom pattern, as I like to call it, where essentially we get a shoulder, a head where price comes down and spikes real quick, and then a shoulder that doesn't quite take out these last lows here, consolidates for a bit, and then reverses to the upside. I think there's a good shot that this shoulder indicates that the bottom is in. And if we get a shift back above 1.3, I think that's going to be the indication. But Aster has been one that I've been buying a lot the last week or so. Has a good potential to go back to all-time highs. And the way I'm playing this personally is I'll take out about 30 to 50% of my position at around all-time highs and kind of leave the rest for higher. So yeah, to kind of conclude, I mean, I'm really bullish on this kind of this barbell of movement memes that I think have potential to 5, 10x, 15x, just back to all-time highs for a lot of these. And again, you have to be picky. There's not every coin's going to go back. I'm very bullish on the coins that have survived these before. Giga SPX Mog, USDUC, ticker Bitcoin. And then the other side of that barbell for me is the revenue producing coins. Again, coins it's not going to work with every coin. These coins actually have to be producing revenue and apps that people actually use. And again, the existing ones right now, the pumps, the asters, the what was the other one? I was just thinking of Hyperliquid, obviously, and then two of these up and coming. And again, there's no date coming on these, but two flywheel coins you might want to be paying attention to that are probably going to come out in 2026 is the coins connected to the prediction markets. I'm gonna drink some water real quick. Hold on. But the coins attached to the prediction markets, like when Polymarket and Kalshi drop their tokens, that's going to be a giant flywheel that I think is going to be very successful because of how many fees Kalshi and Polymarket are producing. I think the flywheel and the burns on that are going to be crazy. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and log into my Instagram really quick here, guys, so I can see the comments. Give me 2 seconds here. While I'm doing this, if you guys could please retweet, comment, share with your friends, always appreciated. And if you're on YouTube, X, wherever you're tuning in from, let me know in the chat. I'm just logging in into the Instagram real quick. Um, all right. Okay, I have to enter a code that it sends on my email. All right. There we go. Oh, that's why. Okay. Stand by, guys, 1 second. There we are. Okay. 968 500. Okay, perfect. Are we still on Instagram, Jesse? Oh, we might have gotten disconnected. 400. Yeah. Troll. Oh yeah, I'll look at Troll for you guys. Just looking at the chat right now, catching up. Coins with super narrative like Elon Musk post, Grox, etc. Got no community. We still call them movement memes. No. So I mean, there's Doge, for example. I think Doge is like one of a kind because it's obviously a singular meme around the picture of the Doge. It's a very big cultural thing in crypto. But then, did we get disconnected from Instagram, Jesse? Oh, because I'm looking on my page, I don't see it. It maybe doesn't show on my own page. Okay, and it's not. Okay. Perfect. So I for some reason I'm on my Instagram, guys, and it's not showing me the stream. So I'm just gonna have my producer read out some of the comments. Can you just read out some of the ones to me? Okay. So I'm hearing. Go ahead. Perfect. So I'm seeing in the Instagram chat, people are asking for Pepe, Avicii, and what was the other one? Well, okay. We'll look at all those in just a second. I'm gonna do some chart requests. Yeah, I can talk about airdrops, Carmen. I think right now there's two airdrops that are extremely obvious that everybody should be farming, that are free to farm or very cheap. And that is Base. I think crypto Twitter kind of fades a lot of what Base is doing in Coinbase. But I think what they're doing with Zora and a lot of these different apps, I think using those right now is a smart idea because I think they're going to contribute to the airdrop that Base has. And if you see JP Morgan and a lot of these big financial institutions are doing write-ups on Base and how they think, the Base token, at least initially, could launch at tens of billions, 10, 20, 30 billion market cap, with a large amount of that going straight to users of the chain. So with how few people are using it, I think there's, even if you want to be using Zora, the Base app, if you're able to get into that. And I think I could probably get a few invites for the chat. I think I have a few in my app, but the Base app you can be using and doing a lot of these transactions and these using Zora, the Base app, that are essentially free or pennies to get transactions that should contribute, if you're doing it the right way, to potentially getting an airdrop. I'm talking, if you're able to take a couple hours or an hour a day, 30 minutes a day for the next couple months, potentially could produce a high four to five, 5-figure airdrop, more if you do it even smartly. So there's Base and then Abstract. Abstract's been kind of slept on lately, but they're eventually going to do a pretty large airdrop, I think. So that's another one that you can, be farming for pretty cheap to free, that I think is going to get some good airdrops from it. What is changing in Pump Fund? Yeah, I guess Pump Fund is doing. Pump Fund added something called Mayhem Mode, which is essentially changing the transfer fee rebates and doing a few things with the rewards. But it says optional Mayhem Mode reroutes protocol fees and makes new coins future proof for features like automated airdrops. So you can essentially do automated airdrops to holders, trading rewards, dynamic fees, programmable token rules. And this is for new tokens. Essentially, let's see. I think also it allows taxes to be put on the coins too, enables tax coins. There's a different stuff, but again, I think it's just changing the model at which these devs can distribute airdrops and different things to holders and different stuff like that. Pump back to all-time high would be nice. Yeah, I got Aster, but have more faith in Pump, so bought more. Okay. Unstablio, what's up? What's up, young ads? General Bingus, what's up? Yeah, let's look at USDUC real quick too, and I'll go ahead and tell you again why it's a perfect example why these movement memes are just really like the ones that other than the pumps and the asters and the ones that have flywheels and actual revenue. And I would argue the movement memes, a lot of these I probably have more conviction in. It's because USDUC, for example, is less than a year old, guys. It's 6 months old, essentially. Or what is this, but 6 or 7 months old. But look what it's done. It's corrected. This time was a 50% correction. This one was like a 70% correction. This one was another 50% correction. It's gone up a lot this year, but what do you see throughout this run up? It's these nice, choppy, healthy corrections that have always eventually lead to another move higher. This is a very healthy thing to see. Shows that every time the coin corrects, that there's still a core community that's still pushing, that pushes it higher. And what happens is the same thing that happens to Bitcoin, same thing that happens to SPX, to gold, to any of this stuff, is that every time it corrects, a certain amount of the supply moves into the stronger hands, or the cult members, diamond-handed people who tend to buy and DCA into these lows that are less likely to sell on the way up. So essentially, every time price corrects like this, the supply gets harder. The supply dynamics essentially become more favorable for higher market caps. And yes, this is the first, probably the biggest correction that USDUC has had. But this price action is kind of choppy and slow in nature. Kind of been consolidating here for almost a month. If Bitcoin is able to shift back up here in the next couple weeks, I think this very well could be the bottom for USDUC, and one that, right now my top DCAs have been MOG, because MOG at 100 million, just I think is, I don't know, it's just so obvious. Like, obviously going to 10, probably 20x from here. But it's been MOG, Giga up there too. SPX, because again 60 70, but then right up there is USDUC. Like, it's at 13 million, obviously a much smaller coin compared to these other ones, but it's just the strength of community, how these guys are just continuing to push, just super extremely consistent. Just the guys that are behind it, people working on it to get into the exchanges, in combination with this price action. I'm just extremely bullish on USDUC, and it's one of the 5 to 10 that I think it has the chance to really push to hundreds of millions or billions in market cap out of the ashes here. So yeah, I really like USDUC. Yeah, I just looked at it. Top 3 altcoins for microports. So really, unless you're talking like you got 10 or 20 million dollars, I give everybody kind of the same advice. I think it's a misconception. Most people think you have 200, 300, 500, $100 that you're going to have to play the pump fund lottery to ever make it. And and like bet it on small coins. But I would give you the same advice that somebody that has $100,000 essentially is take that $100, split it between 5 to 10, probably for you closer to 5 high conviction coins, really in those two areas. Like I said, the movement memes, the SPX, the Gigas, ticker Bitcoins, USDUCs, FWOG is a little bit different. Also, movement memes, I forgot to add, movement memes and brand coins. Okay. Brand coins being the Pengus and the Rex. They're kind of movements as well, but those I'm very bullish on. We're going to see some other examples, I think, pop up. But I would say to you, Minhas is top 3 altcoins. I would pick 5 to 10 for me. If I was in your position, 5 to 10 coins between those two areas, the movement memes and the revenue producing flywheel coins, the unis. Maybe a smaller market cap version would be Pump, Aster, Hype, coins like that. Pick a few between those two categories, hold those, take 25, 50% profit on the way up, put that back into Sol ETH stables, rinse and repeat. You don't want to put it back into any old coin, but essentially the name of the game for me, and what's brought me a lot of success the last few years, is buying coins essentially during these corrective periods, whether they be long corrective periods, couple week corrective periods, accumulate them during these boring periods, maybe where a lot of people aren't paying attention, taking profits on the way up as everybody gets hyped and they become consensus trades, and then holding partial one of those positions for a longer period of time. That way, what it allows me to do is lock in gains, continue to compound my ETH, Bitcoin, Sol stable portfolio while still holding a long-term position in the coins that I believe in. And at that point, I can re-add to USDUC, I can re-add to SPX, re-add to MOG, because I took profits on the way up. So I think there's a common misconception. A lot of people think in such absolutes with everything. They think they have to be on the right, or they have to be on the left, or they think they have to take all their profits off, or they have to hold it all to fucking 10 million. But I think you can trade and believe in something, right? You can take profits on the way up and then still hold a partial position in the stuff that you believe in. Let's fucking go. Base is the best. Yeah, I think Base is pretty good. The Instagram comments, let me know, Jesse, at any time if there's any like questions or anything. You guys asked about FWOG. So FWOG, I'm glad somebody asked about that. That is also one I've been buying a little bit more heavily. Not great. I'm not going to lie. Like, especially after it broke through here, not ideal price action. I would really like to see FWOG consolidate for a bit. to really confirm a bottom. But really, why I am bullish on FWOG, despite price action not being the greatest, is they are coming out with NFT um, an NFT project. For those of you guys who probably know my PFP, I ran it through a few filters, but is a Pond FWOG NFT. They did a 101 collection back when the FWOG coin came out that they raffled off to people. That's more of a 101 collection, but soon they're dropping a 10K bigger collection with these FWOG PFPs that they are attempting to help build out the IP. But from what I understand, and again, there hasn't been full details that come out yet, but they are going to have some type of, it looks like some type of physical blind box, it says. What I think this means is that essentially the NFT mint is each of those NFTs are going to come with a physical drop similar to what Moonbirds did, which I'm super bullish on. I think NFTs are going to be the ones that are successful are going to mix the physical world and the digital. So I'm super bullish on this. I think if they do this right with market conditions, could also help the coin as well. So while I'm going to be honest with you, the price action isn't the greatest on FWOG. I think if we can either get a shift back above 3 cents or consolidate for a couple weeks, I think that's going to be a bullish sign. And I do think FWOG is going to have a bit of a resurgence here. And I mean, if they do the NFT thing right, very well could run it back. So there's FWOG. Somebody asked about Pepe. Pepe, I think it's maybe just bag bias because I just don't have a lot of Pepe. But I think sometimes I forget to talk about Pepe up there with a lot of these coins. But I'm extremely bullish on Pepe. I think it's going to easily go run it back to 10 billion, and probably way higher. And if any of these coins are going to flip Doge or get up there ever, Pepe's has potential to do it. But I think it's just because I don't have a huge bag of Pepe that a lot of times I don't talk about it. I don't necessarily think Pepe is a movement meme either. But yeah, no, Pepe I think is going to run it back. We obviously, same thing as FWOG, we want to see a bit more consolidation, but especially if it shifts back above 0.12, which is about a 2x from here, I think if and when Bitcoin bounces back, that we're going to see Pepe very likely run it back as well. So Pepe is just kind of one as long as meme coins bounce back, which I think they will. At least the strong ones that Pepe has. You never want to bet against Pepe. Pump fund is only left for crime, no, because it's a pump fund we used to trade in. I think it's just another example of not thinking of things in extremes, right? Not to put you on the spot, Min, but like, while I do agree there's a lot of crime that goes on in pump fund, I think it just comes down to gambling and speculation are only going to become more popular in society, I think. And meme coins and pump fund, I think, are going to be a big part of that. So will there be a lot more crime on pump fund? Yes, but I also think there's going to be CCM stuff launched on there, like actual companies potentially, and streamer coins and a lot of stuff that potentially does have some longevity. Everyone are going to be a dev that. Do you recommend a crypto beginner starts with NFTs or perps or airdrops? It's a good question. So the question is, do you recommend a crypto beginner starts with NFTs or perps or airdrops? I recommend, and I did a tweet yesterday. I think like the things that, going into this next phase of the bull run, there's a few things you kind of want to have in check, I think, to kind of set yourself up for success. And really, number one, have a profit taking system that says that once price goes to this level, I'm taking this amount off. Kind of having a profit taking system set up ahead of time. Most of your port you want to be having set up, Mr. G. Even if you have $1,000, you want to have 500 of that in Bitcoin, ETH, Sol stables at all times. The rest of that you want to have in these categories that, like I said, have upside potential but are like strong narratives, like the movement memes and the flywheel coins. And then really I would make sure that most of your portfolio, 80% plus, is in spot coins, not leverage, not any of that. I would use 80% of your portfolio in the stuff that gives you a real shot at, success and not getting blown out on leverage. And then use 10 to 20, 25% of the rest of your portfolio to play in the pump fund stuff or the prediction markets or the NFTs. NFTs are a little bit different. I think in 2025, 2025, 26, you want to look as NFTs as collectibles. I think the ones that are going to be successful over the next few years are going to be the ones that are successful IPs that the rest of the world wants to collect. Like essentially the ones that you think, and the way I'm seeing it, besides CryptoPunks and art, that's different. But you're talking about the Pudgies, the V Friends, the Bored Apes. You want to bet on the ones I think are. You want to collect the ones that you think have long term potential and the ones that you really enjoy. And like essentially, you want to collect the ones that you think are going to be the next Pokemon, the next Marvel, the next whatever the hell it's going to be, Hello Kitty, whatever. Those are the ones that are going to hold long term value. I think NFTs now are just a game of collectability with potential, programmable utility, airdrops, all that stuff is great. But the only way these NFT companies are going to be successful, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys. I'm in a hotel, so the phone is ringing. But yeah, to conclude what I was saying about NFTs, I think it's a game of collectability now. That's how I'm playing it. I'm really huge conviction in VFriends because I think it has the potential to be the next. I know it sounds crazy, but like the next great IP, Disney, Marvel, whatever the hell, crypto version of that, or just the next one in general. And I'm willing to collect and hold on to a lot of these digital collectibles for months or years until that happens. But yeah, I hope that helps, Mr. G. I hate to be that guy, but have a look at Mute by Virtuals. What are your thoughts? But yeah, bit of a reset right now. I'm just looking at chat. So if you have a comment, question, chart request, something you're wondering about, earlier on in the stream, we are talking about this Bitcoin and ETH consolidation. And while this is boring, is like a necessary step that we usually see at the end of these corrections. So you can go ahead and watch that back at the end. If you have a comment, question, leave them in the chat. Is there any Jesse comments or from Instagram? Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and do a giveaway from the Instagram chat here in about 5 minutes. So if you haven't already, go and check me out on Instagram at Brent Trades. We are doing a live stream on there and YouTube as well. But yeah, let me look at Mute real quick for you. Mute. Why'd you say you hate to be this guy, brother? I thought when you said that this thing was going to be like nuked. But I don't know much about much about this coin. I know a lot of these virtual coins are getting some. Was this the one that was supposed to be similar to Graphane or whatever? I will say again, the thing that really predicted or the biggest indicator that this thing was going to take off, and again, you see this at the during pretty much every major top or bottom, and that is consolidation. As you can see here, formed this low at 0.001 starting on September 28th, held that thing for about a month, and then took off. So again, if you're bullish on a coin for whatever fundamental reasons you think it's going to really take off, the biggest like confluence or indicator you want to be looking for is some type of consolidation, holding a low for a certain amount of time. So this took off. Now it's up. What? At about 10x now. So nice move there. I would be saying taking profits on the way up here. On the very low time frames, I will say that this is a 12-day high. And like I said, consolidation, this is actually a form of consolidation. So it's failing to break that high. If it doesn't pull back and go back up here soon, it does have the potential here that when it fails to break a big high like that, that it could come back down very likely could come back down to at least this low here at 1 cent. And if it breaks down that, you could very well see a bigger top. So I don't know too much about this coin. I don't know if it's a long term coin or what, but these are the levels I would be watching, to where if it fails to break up here soon, very likely revisits 10 cents, or I'm sorry, 1 cent. And at that point, you want to see it do something like this if it were to do that, to where it's just a consolidation that leads to higher. That's kind of the best case scenario here for this. And I mean, you see it sometimes where it consolidates and does that. But again, you want to be watching 1 cent is a level to be watching. And really, best case scenario is that it shakes off this move down here and instead just goes straight back up. But if it comes much lower, odds are it's going to retest that 1 cent level. And at that point, if it breaks through, could go much lower. So yeah, that's what I would be watching here for mute. But I mean, if you entered this, brother, I would be taking some profits. Good stuff. Let me know in the chat where you entered. UFD is still so incredibly primed and such strong. Yeah, I think UFD, same thing as FLOG. I'd be lying to you if I said the UFD price action is great. It's not, the same thing as FLOG, right? It broke through this major low. It's not ideal, but I think it's not. I think with it's the strength of the community and UFD, how you guys are continuing to push, and then with Ron's kind of distribution already existing platform on YouTube, doesn't really matter much during times like this, or else it doesn't seem. But the work that you guys are putting in now and staying consistent and all that will matter, I think, during this next run up for meme coins. So I definitely would not bet against Unicorn Fart Dust to go back to 100 million plus. Were you saying something, Jesse? Oh, USDC. Yeah, definitely clip that, guys. Clip the USDC. Chat USDUC. Do you think it could be on par with Pengu? I don't know what you're talking about specifically. Crypto Basant, you can let me know in the chat which coin you're referring to. But Pengu, Jesse, you want to go ahead and go through the comments, like randomly scroll through and pick out somebody? Right now, we're going to go ahead and do that giveaway for Instagram. And then I'm going to do another giveaway from the chat here, and then one at the end of the stream from the stream. One second. Let me see. Do you have much low fee? No, I don't have a crazy amount of low fee, but yeah, let me know that Jesse, let me know that name from the chat. Okay, Man Hayes from the Instagram chat. Congratulations. Go ahead and either DM me on Instagram, so that because I'm not looking on the stream right now, DM me so I can make sure to get you that USDC after the stream. Congratulations, appreciate you. Can you talk a bit about Sol? Yeah, I think Sol is going to follow Bitcoin and ETH. Essentially, same setup on all three majors. Is that we are holding these lows here at 150, and as long as that it holds, we're essentially, this is what we see at the bottom of all these corrections, especially on Bitcoin and ETH, is some type of consolidation for a few weeks before we bottom out. But yeah, so same kind of setup as Bitcoin and ETH. I think if we can hold these lows at 100K for Bitcoin, 150 for Sol, and what is this? 3,100 for ETH. Very likely marks the bottom here, just like we saw at the end of these other corrections. 3 to 8 weeks of consolidation. Obviously, probably would get pretty boring during this time. Shit would probably continue to slow down, but I think it's a necessary step that we see at the end of all these corrections. Um, yeah, so yeah, I think Sol, best case scenario, again, we want to see it hold this low at 3,100 to mark the end of this correction. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at ETH, the end of this correction. What were you saying? No. Okay. Well, yeah, it was. What was the guy's name? What was the guy's name? All right. Bet. Oh, thoughts on Popcat? I think Popcat's one of the few that will bounce back. Appreciate it, Brand. Do you have a list of ICM to tech coins? So I'm not crazy into the ICM where I have a bunch of coins I have in there. I think Kled I like on the ICM stuff. Or have you really yet to dive into a lot? I think Avicii's cool. I think I know or somebody did ask about Avicii. Let's see here. Let's see here. Avicii. So that's a nice run up Avicii's had this month. As you can see, yeah, Avicii has these nice corrections, but continues to chop, continues to go up. Right now, what this looks like is a pretty clean correction on the pretty clean corrected behavior on the lower time frames. Bouncing here, I think one of two things is going to happen. Either Avicii is done and this consolidation just goes up from here, or it could continue into this in this coil up here it's in. Something like this. Um, so yeah, I think it's either bottomed out or could put down a little bit lower. But I think the corrected behavior is obviously obvious on the lower time frames, and probably continues up in the near future. Again, I don't know too much about Avicii itself, but chart wise, this is very healthy, and I would just encourage take profits on the way up on any of these things. APR, yeah, I'll look at that for you too. APR, is this it? I'm sure there's probably a better chart now. Is it the one on BNB? Okay. I assume this is it. APR, been holding this low for 4 or 5 days. Not too much price, not too much data for me to be able to say much. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much information on. I don't know what this coin is, and then only been out for 2 or 3 weeks. I will say this does look pretty corrective in the sense that it has been chopping down pretty slowly. Let me see here. This so like right here looks pretty corrective. Again, it's down 60-70%, but notice how it's coming down, bouncing in this choppy like manner instead of just going straight down with red candles. Coming out of this correction already, I could definitely see it if conditions continue to do well, probably do something like this and continue to go to the upside. But again, this is assuming that it has good fundamentals and there's an actual narrative or something that continues to push it. I don't know too much other than the chart. But looks pretty healthy price action, especially if it can hold above 29 cents. So I like this chart though. You have to let me know APR, like kind of like a elevator pitch of the fundamentals and the stuff behind it. What's up, Minhaz? Appreciate you. What's up, Hemdog? What's up, brother? How you doing? So we bullish overall. We made chop for a couple weeks and bottom around. Yeah, I'm bullish. I think to kind of conclude what I was saying earlier, I think very, very likely, even if we haven't bottomed out here and we somehow see another low below 100, is that I think the bottom is way closer than the top, meaning we've seen most of the downside is almost certainly behind us in this correction. And I pointed out on these streams and a lot in the tweets lately of how this correction so far in the price action and everything going on is very reminiscent and very looks a lot like these corrections we've seen a couple times throughout these bull markets, and looks almost nothing like what we saw in 2021 or the actual cycle top that people are scared of. Again, the coiled up price action, we have the institutional adoption that's going absolutely crazy with BlackRock and the biggest financial institutions in the world starting to open up ETFs and retirement accounts starting to be able to invest in crypto ETFs. You have the regulatory clarity, and then probably the most important, other than the price action, the most obvious being the macro situation. How QT is being dwindling down and stopping. Rates are still coming down without anything breaking. The talks of Trump with obviously since the last time we were on the stream, Trump talked about how there's going to be a $2,000 dividend given to Americans from the tariffs. Now, we don't really know what that means exactly. It could be in the form of an actual check, could become of like a tax break or something. But it's evident that the government is looking to spend and print money, which again is bullish for risk assets. So you put all these things together, I think it's pretty obvious that I think 2026 is going to be a bullish year for crypto. And to answer your question, Mr. Empathic, yes, as if Bitcoin can hold these lows for a few more weeks, I think that's going to spell the end of these corrections and end of this correction, just like we saw in these other ones, kind of ending in a couple weeks of consolidation before heading up. So yeah, you're spot on. Bored and bullish. Feel that. I think the Instagram live came off, guys. I don't know what happened, but yeah, it could have been because of the hour mark, but appreciate you guys who came on the Instagram stream. We're going to be live on Instagram every time as well. And shout out to the winner of the Instagram USDC giveaway. Liquidity too low. I don't know if it's not liquidity. Sorry for the Instagrams. Yeah. Is the banana zone real? Um, I do think there's a really good possibility that this next leg of the cycle um, is this next leg of the cycle could really be that banana zone where there's it's super euphoric and like aggressive because of crypto having an off year. How I think there's going to be some type of normie retail mania, or at least a lot more normie retail participation over the next few years, to where I think there could get a kind of banana zone where the banana zone is like where it's like the really stuff really picks up, kind of like a euphoric parabolic type move for crypto. I think it's possible. Could you break down internet capital markets? Internet capital markets is essentially where companies, instead of going public, they're launching through tokens and allowing the market to invest in the company through tokens. Pump fund, and there's specific ICM marketplaces or meta things, but yeah. Let's see. Let me see here. Oh yeah. Myself and Hemdog are actually gonna be on a Twitter space here on Thursday at 5 p.m. EST. Talk about NFTs, the current state of NFTs, alts, meme coins, a lot of other good stuff. Gonna wanted to switch up the platform or the format a bit. Loving these streams, which I'm gonna continue to do multiple times a week. But definitely want to do some Twitter spaces so we can have you guys up asking questions. It's a different format where it's kind of more of a open dialogue, which is definitely great and stuff I want to do more of. So definitely set the reminder. The good thing about these Twitter spaces through Twitter is you can set the reminder. So definitely set the reminder notification on that so you don't miss out. Again, Thursday, November 13th at 2 p.m. PST or 5 p.m. EST. Yeah, I don't know, Crypto Comrade. I don't know why we didn't see your questions. You can re-ask them. Sorry about that, bro. Yeah, I'll look at Ton for you guys real quick. Yeah, let me look at Ton. So Ton has had a pretty big correction the entire year, but obviously had a huge 2024 and 2023. Kind of went up only 10x over 2 years. So what is this? 60 65% correction on Ton. Ideally, we want to see this Ton low hold for like, it's already been holding for a month, which pretty nice consolidation there. But if it can hold for another, weeks or months, I really like what Ton is doing with Telegram and how they're kind of putting the whole app on chain and all that good stuff. And I just wouldn't bet against them. It's definitely not one of my top 3 to 5, not one of my top three L1s that I hold. I really like Sol, ETH, obviously. Probably Sui and AVAX are probably my other two. Obviously, BNB is great. I don't really have a huge bag of BNB, but Ton, again, I really like what they're doing, and I just really wouldn't bet against them to have a nice run back. Really, it would be a nice confirmation that it's back, as if it goes up to 3.6 and really confirms a move above this prior bounce or this prior consolidation. But just on fundamentals alone, I just wouldn't bet against Telegram. And I'm not surprised to see it have a big washout after it going up 10x in a couple years. So, yeah, I like Telegram's chances long term. Tons chances long term. Solana. Do you see Solana going institutional like Bitcoin and ETH? Yeah, Solana already got an ETF, and I think there's going to be a lot more. And I think Ethereum is definitely the chain of choice for Wall Street because of the lack of downtime and stuff. But you're still going to see a lot of this stuff on Solana as well. Yeah, I'll look at Lumen for you. Um, but Lumen, okay, so Lumen's interesting. Obviously, had a nice kind of sharp correction, consolidated for a couple days. Okay, so this coin is only 12 or 13 days old. You'll have to let me know in the chat, Lumen, what is it? Give me a brief synopsis of like what it is. Um, So again, whenever you get big shifts off lows and then tops, the next level that you're watching is kind of again this prior low. So I could see it again if you're bullish on Lumen to be a coin that kind of makes it out of this corrective period and kind of does well long term, is you want to see how it reacts near that low. Does it treat it like a double bottom and shifts and goes like that? If that's the case, then there's a really good chance that this is more of a long term bottom that leads to all time highs. But also, you want to make sure that it's not going to do this and just power right through, because that could be a long term top. So you really want to see how price acts near this low. If it's able to chop and hold above and then shifts back to the upside, this move right here, um, this move right here would be your kind of confirmation that okay, there's a good chance that we're shifting off this bottom and that it's back. Right? That's kind of what your best case scenario, what you want to be looking for. And it could go back and retest that low, but you want to make sure it doesn't break through it. And if it can hold above this low here and then shift back to the upside, again, that's kind of going to be your sign. Very likely we're heading back to upside all-time highs, or at least this high up here. So that's kind of what I'd be looking for. Again, I don't know too much about Lumen other than the chart. Mudang, Lumen is an IRL company going through the ICM stuff and launching on Pump Fund. Interesting. Gotta let me know what kind of tech is it. What kind of tech does it have? Carmen says it feels kind of lonely here. Maybe because I'm a girl. Could give me your best tip in growing my account. That's actually an interesting topic. If I would have, if you would have asked me that like a month ago, I would have just told you be a reply guy and in a respectful way and just comment on people's stuff, in a tactful way. While I still think that there's a lot of truth to that, and you should still. That's the best way to get noticed is by connecting with some of the bigger accounts on their posts. I think you have to be really, really strategic about that part of it. But really, Carmen, overall, if you put out good energy and you put out content that's either funny, has entertainment value, something that you're learning, and then you're going on other people's posts and putting out positivity and just like a funny comment or something that makes that person think, um, not only is that going to get you in the algorithm, but you're going to get a lot of people who see that and go and follow you back or start to engage on your stuff. And that's going to get the ball rolling. But really, it's just a mix of putting out good content, of just funny or just interesting stuff. It doesn't have to be like market stuff. It could just be stuff you're learning and then going on other people's stuff and engaging on other people's stuff. If people follow you back, maybe shoot them a DM, say, oh, yeah, I like this, this, and this on your profile. Great to connect. Again, don't be spammy, don't be weird, but just simply putting out good energy and engaging in other people's stuff. The law of reciprocity, that's how you're going to have other people engage on your stuff. But most people are cool in crypto is if you're cool. So thoughts on USDC? I don't know if you saw earlier on the show, super bullish on USDC here. Which layer 2 do you think will dominate by 2026? I like base. I think Arbitrum, Optimism, all of those will do well as more people come onto crypto. But really like Optimism. I'm sorry, really like base is potential. But yeah, guys, not much to talk about this week. Again, really not much moving at all. Bitcoin, ESOL, grinding, on these lows. As long as we can hold these 1 week lows here, uh, good shot that I think a couple more weeks of consolidation leads to a rebound, just like we saw at the end of these other corrections. Um, so yeah, I think it's really like the calm before the storm, and once we bounce back for Bitcoin ETH, I think as Bitcoin starts approaching all time highs, that's when we start to see the memes, alts start to heat up again, the trenches start to fire back up, and yeah, so pretty fat daily candle though on Sol. Pulse chain. Yeah, I don't know. Pulse chain is not something I'd be betting on personally, but take on the next narrative after AI. I don't know. I don't. You never know what's going to be the next one. I think movement memes again. The flywheel coins. There's going to be a lot of stuff. Streamer coins, I think, are something to continue to pay attention to. But yeah, I'll stay on here for you guys with you guys for another 8 or 9 minutes. Hang out. The what? What about this? What are you saying? Yeah, I will in a sec. Yeah. So, brother, any good tips, us tools, or routines for getting an overview of how the crypto markets are moving? Getting an overview. Um, what's up, Carl? Any goods, tips, tools, routines for getting an overview? I'm trying to understand your question. I understand the tips, tools, routines part, but what do you mean on getting an overview on the crypto markets? Um, really, some tips, tools, routines is again once you have that profit taking system set up that says once price moves here, I'm taking this amount of profit off. Having your portfolio set up in a certain way. After that, bro, like a routine, especially during these times, is I would be spending, 30 minutes to an hour back testing charts, looking at charts, doing stuff like that. Not too much time, maybe spending another 30 minutes to an hour listening to a podcast or some kind of, really that's the most I've learned and how I've been able to learn so fast in the last few years is by watching hours of podcasts from people and experts from, in the crypto space and the finance space, all these different other areas, things I'm trying to learn. Right now, Bankless has always had been a good podcast for that. Thread Guy has some of the greatest minds on in the space recently, especially like more specific to like crypto and meme coins and stuff. So I would take 30 minutes to an hour looking at charts, maybe another 30 minutes to an hour plus watching podcasts, educating yourself, maybe another 30 minutes networking and stuff like that. But I think it's just a good balance of like continuing to learn and grow and pay attention to the space without being on your screen for 7 or 8 hours a day. I mean, unless you're actively trading and making a lot of money, and that's your style. Overall, it's like finding a balance and being involved, but not driving yourself like too insane, obsessing over like looking at the screen all day. What's your rule for taking profits? If you want to go to the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel, it's a good time. I know a lot of you guys are already in there, but if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel. It is a Telegram channel that I run with my great friend slash business partner, Boss Man, which most of you guys know, of course. I post all my trade ideas you'll find on Twitter. Usually, I'll post them up first in the Telegram with um, more long form. What's it called? More long form thoughts, tips and tricks, videos, giveaways. Sometimes streams in there. As well as obviously Boss Man posts a lot of great stuff in here as well. If you haven't already, I know a lot of you guys obviously know him, but definitely check out and shoot my great friend and business partner Boss Man a follow. Him and I kind of run the channel together, and been doing it almost 2 years now together, from 300 subs in this time in 2023 to up to 40,000 subs here now. People all over the world. It's been a great privilege to post them there. So if you're in the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel, shout out to you, first of all. Love all you guys. Great to see you guys in here. Carmen, shout out to you. Shot you a follow back. Um, Interesting. You're an OG. Thanks, bro. Let's see. But yeah, if you didn't hear a second ago, doing a Twitter space with my boy Hemdog Thursday, 5 p.m. Going to continue to do the streams. We want to mix it up a little bit. Format, Twitter space. So we're able to have a lot of you guys come up and ask questions and be more of an open dialogue. So we'll be talking about crypto alts, NFTs, everything. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to come up and ask live, not concerns, questions, whatever you want to come and ask live, this would be a good time as well. So appreciate you for being here, Grinwood. What's the biggest mistake you made last cycle? I think the biggest tweak I wish I could have made last cycle, from what I know now, is taking profits more aggressively. Yeah, yep. Both are RG. Thanks, bro. Last questioning: tips to improve mental health. All I seem to do is watch charts all day. I know a few people have been here, and yes, right. Sorry, guys, I'm just stretching. All I seem to do is watch charts all day, and I know a few people have been here. And yes, right now we are in the boring stage. That's a great question. So, first off, I would say, if starting off in crypto in the last year, you just joined, it's been an intense year. It's kind of the trade-offs that we have from crypto, from all the great opportunity, is that there's a lot of volatility and some downtimes, right? First of all, I would say every one of these corrections that you live through and that you push through with like a positive mindset, and every one of these things you live through, it gets easier. It gets easier because you've been through it, just like anything, like you've been through it, you live through it, it gets easier, you get conditioned and, whatever to that experience. So first of all, like, it gets easier every time you live through these different corrections. But really what keeps me sane is, and I think I'm glad you said that you look at charts all day, because I think that's really that's most people's kind of issue, or what most people are doing, is they focus so much on price action, especially they're looking at the 1 minute chart or 10-minute chart, like super zoomed in, so much on current price action, and that's all they care about. When in reality, what's kept me sane and kept me so bullish, apart from being able to kind of read the charts, is looking at the stuff outside of crypto, outside of the charts that's happening in crypto, all the regulatory clarity stuff, what the big institutions are doing, the ETFs, all that good stuff that are so obviously bullish in the background. And it allows me to have a longer term mindset on, a few months and a few years. Whereas if all you're watching is the 5-minute chart and price is going down for the last few days, of course you're going to be bearish. So I would say give yourself time. It gets easier over the years and months. And then 2, zoom out and start paying attention to the other stuff outside of just the last few weeks, last few days of price action. And like I said, make a routine for yourself, bro. Don't feel like you have to watch the charts all day, because especially right now when everything's just down and sideways, there's nothing that you're gonna learn from watching the charts for 3 hours a day instead of 30 minutes. You get me? You feel me? You get what I'm saying? Thanks for all the great content, Brent. Thanks for being here, Mars. Appreciate you. Only come to crypto if ready to lose hairs. Yeah. Stressful sometimes. Brent, you followed me. Such a motivation. Appreciate for a. I think you said I thought it said a stalker like me. I was about to block you, but no, I'm just playing. Starter. Appreciate you for being here, Carmen. Is decentralization still a priority? There's a slogan. Depends on who you ask. No, I think decentralization. There's still decentralized aspects in crypto, like essentially Ethereum, especially, kind of removes the middleman out of most things. But yeah, we're coming up on an hour and a half here, guys. If you could, again, like, comment, retweet, turn on notifications so you don't. Appreciate you for sharing this, Ellie. Turn on post notifications. Do these streams every Tuesday and Friday. Have some cool guests coming up here soon. Going to continue to have cool conversations with founders, traders, different people in the space, as well as continue to push despite the conditions. I think, again, if Bitcoin ESOL can hold above these lows for the next couple of weeks, I think there's a good chance that this acts as the bottom and we see a strong push into the end of the year. I personally am just super optimistic and extremely bullish on the future for crypto and everything. I think crypto, again, I say this a lot, is just in that sweet spot and has asymmetric upside, where the downside from here, all the institutions in the world are kind of, crypto's becoming this thing. It's had its made it moment, but still is in a correction, kind of in this weird period of the 4-year cycle. People are in like this weird, a lot of sentiment wise, it's just a weird place, but it's in a sweet spot where it's made it, but still in prices are in still a great area that has a lot of upside. So, I think looking back 6 months from now, whether the majors bottom out here or go a little bit lower, I think these prices are going to be very cheap looking back, and you're going to be stoked that you stuck around. So, hope everybody has a great rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and hit the gym, get some food. But like I said, turn post notifications, share, comment, retweet, all that good stuff. If you have any suggestions for the stream, anybody you want to have on, go ahead and comment in the chat or in the bottom, or shoot me a DM. It's always nice as well. So with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on Friday. Peace.